tell you a story about me and you. Out on the water, surrounded by the blue. They scream that only I'll be saved. They toss off the line, but I just let it float away. Yeah, I let it float away. I let it float away. I let it float away. Float away, float away. I let it float away. I let it float away.
Last time on Sailing Zatara.
We pulled the boat out of the water in St. Maarten, had the hull painted, and had some repairs done on the bottom. We all learned about CPR, first aid, and AEDs, and then provisioned up and headed out 500 miles southwesterly to the diver's paradise of Bonaire.
Like the boat's working good. It's out of the water for 2 weeks. I hate that we're not going to go to Las Roques. I really wanted to go to Las Roques. Alejandro down there said don't come, too dangerous. So we're going to go to Bonaire, do some scuba diving in Bonaire, go to Curacao, Aruba, wait for a weather window there, and then down to Panama. I think by morning we should have some pretty decent winds, 10 to 15 knots as we get farther south. It's supposed to be 15 to 20. Out of the east. Right now they're just light and variable. There ain't no wind. I mean, 2 or 3 knots spinning around the compass. So we're gonna motor through the night, just ease our way south as we pick up the better trades down south. Making about 7 knots. The good thing is we're not beating against the waves. That's a good thing. As far as weather goes and weather reporting, I use several different products. The first one I use is Predict Wind. They are really good. I get the Predict Wind emails through the offshore Predict Wind app that comes through the Iridium Go that I have, and it's very easy, and I can see that when I'm out in the ocean. And so I use that for wind and wave, and I always use the PWG model because it seems to be the most conservative, and so it's always showing the worst winds and the worst waves when I look at the PWG model. The other 3 or 4 are good, and I always try to make sure that out of the 4 models, when it comes to the winds and stuff, that I've got at least 3 or a minimum of 3 lining up and showing about the same thing before I say it's go time. The next thing I move over to is the offshore waters forecast, the NHC offshore waters forecast, which I learned to get that from Bruce Van Zant's book, and that has been probably the bedrock of what we do. As far as what I do when it comes to, I've learned how to read that and watch the winds, and I can look offshore and watch them as they're coming across, and I can see the wind ticks and the wind patterns now, and I can see that, and I've studied that every day. I look at those every day, and I check those. Now, on this graph you're seeing here, on the screen you're seeing here, it shows that it's a internet connection, but what I have learned to do is I can write a script file in an email, and I can send that from my Iridium Go email account to NOAA, and it's just a simple script file. It's the neatest thing, and it'll make that server, NOAA server, send me back the products I want. So it'll actually send me a text file that shows all these zones and that same printout just on a blank piece of paper with all these zones and printouts of the weather forecast. So I get that back in like 5 minutes on my Iridium Go if I'm out in the middle of the ocean and I don't have Wi-Fi. The third thing I look for is just an overall synopsis of the Atlantic from Africa to the Caribbean, so I can see what the highs, the lows, and where they're moving off the coast, the United States, moving off of Africa, any tropical waves, any depressions, anything happening. I got a snapshot of the overall what's going on there. And I use Chris Parker. We subscribe to Chris Parker's weather service, and he's been a monumental help. He's backed up my thinking. I try not to ask him his opinion until I have an opinion to offer, so he can. I want to have my thoughts on what I want to do, and then I want him to tell me, yeah, you're right or you're wrong. And so far, we've lined up on what we've thought and what I thought. And so I've learned how to read the weather a little bit here. I'm not an expert at it by no means. And then obviously I have radar on board for all the short-term squalls and everything that pops up around here. And so we have the radar. And that's the weather for Zatara.
As our first day came to a close, the wind began to pick up and we were able to set the sails and turn off the engine. Here's our shifts, just in case anybody gets confused or forgets. So if you have a 3-hour shift, then you get 9 hours of rest or sleep or whatever until your next shift. It's about 9:30 and I'm on watch from 9 to midnight. Keith just went to bed and Anna will take over after me, and then Jack. And it's a very, very calm night. We're going about 4.5, 5 knots. We're not going really fast, but it's a nice peaceful sail. The engine's off. The wind is about 12, so, and it's right off of our beam here, coming straight out of the east. So it's a really good sail. We could have a little more wind, but it's fine at night. We kind of slow things down. We reef the sails just because it's me and the kids on the next few shifts. And it's a good sail. The very next morning, we were given a warm welcome by a huge pod of dolphins. They swam with us for about half an hour. It was one of the most spectacular sights we have seen so far. The next day, Keith decided we should give autopilot a break for the first hour of each shift. Pretty good holding your heading. Of course, you are a pilot.
Yeah, but I'm just going off the wind. I'm not even looking at it.
I know
I know what the sails need to look like. I know where my wind indicator needs to be. And if you look at the waves are going this way, and I need to be going a beam of the wave, or kind of across the waves. So our heading.
He wants us to practice hand steering in case we ever need it in the night. We'll already know what to do.
Quite simple.
I guess it's pretty smart, actually. He's kind of a smart man. Oh, back over. How boring is this?
Really good.
I can't even read my book.
Well, you can take my arms off it.
What's your heading?
Oh. 250. Yeah.
Means we 224 and you're way off.
I know. I'm getting it. Not as easy as it sounds. I take autopilot for granted, I guess. How's hand steering? It's harder than it looks, isn't it? No, not for you.
I would know about the little things.
You would know about hand steering?
Not specifically.
You do a lot of hand steering?
Yes. Especially with my pillow.
Hey! Sailing long distances is typically uneventful, so school takes priority when things are calm and smooth. So we're on our way to Bonaire, but we are trying to decide what we should do after that, or after we get through the Panama Canal.
Well, we can't go through the Panama Canal right now because our insurance company, Lloyd's of London, won't insure me and my crew out in the Panama Canal or the Pacific. They want 3 people with blue water experience. So, my insurance company, my insurance agent, are looking for another insurance company to cover us for those crossings. When we can't get insurance, we have to make a decision. Do we want to risk the boat going down and us losing all our value, all our possessions on this boat and the boat, and not having it insured. Or hire a captain, hire an experienced crew to go with us to make that crossing. Tough choices.
Start over.
Where's the rum?
It's difficult being intimate on a boat.
It's not really.
Because you're sticky and sweaty, and I don't like it. It's hot, and I never feel very pretty. We've been together for 17 long years.
Oh, they feel so short though. She wants a trade-in.
A trade-in? I do not.
She wants the young buff man.
I've got a man.
She didn't say young and buff. What's the problem there? So, here we are. Recording something so stupid. Like I shot myself. Oh, well, what's the black guy's name?
They can't say black.
No, I said black. Morgan Freeman.
Oh.
That's
when she
That's
knew.
when we knew. That's when we knew. Andy Dufresne. God, I like looking at myself.
So we're headed to Bonaire now. We came down here a little bit, and now we've turned more westerly to our destination.
That's why you get ran.
Right on, yeah, boy.
That's why I'm a lot better.
So that's our, looks like a pretty good squall coming from behind us.
This is the moment I realized I'd forgotten to secure the cushions to the benches after the rain. Ben, you tell me, what's been the hardest thing about this trip, about sailing?
My friends.
What about your friends? You miss them? Yeah.
What's the hardest thing for sailing?
The hardest thing for me has been probably learning sailing, learning all the procedures to sailing, what to do, what lines to put out, when to furl the jib, how to read the winds, and weather, and all the different systems and components, and when to turn the wind generators on, and don't forget to turn the inverter off, and just all the different things that go along with living out here on a boat. So we've moved on from just the Caribbean to the entire world map. Right now we are here in Bonaire. I don't know if you can see that. We're going to go over here through the Panama Canal. We're going to sail down the coast of Ecuador, shoot over to the Galapagos, which should be beautiful, and then make the big jaunt over to the Marquesas, and then hang out and play on all these islands for however long. We arrived in Bonaire on day 84 at sunrise, launched the dinghy, found a mooring ball in Kralendijk, the only place on the whole island allowed for yachts, and set up camp for the next 2 weeks.
Join us next time as we share the underwater world of Bonaire with you.